Good morning, everyone. This is Kevin Cahill from the Irish American Club of Berkshire County. And I join you this morning as we do every Sunday morning from the beautiful studios of Pittsfield Community Radio, WTBR 89.7 FM on your radio dial, and streaming also in Lee at 88.1 WSBR in Lee. I have a nice show planned for you this morning, I think. We're going to be hearing from Stockton's Wing, David Belf, Celtic Thunder, as well as Derek DeBrune. Haven't heard from him in a long time. And one of my favorites, Sean Doyle. But we're starting off today's show with David Belf, I Have a Love.
Abandoned post office and set it ablaze. At late I watch videos of that day and make play you stayed. Garda drove by 3 times but never stopped at the site as we carried that couch over our head height in the night. Left it in a field to burn tomorrow or the next day in Art's name. Film the flames as they dance and sway. Repeat on film the makeup of our estates, and like it always would, we returned 2 days after the charred wood on a couch that had already been burned. As I pen this fortiche of a car parked right outside my window, I push outside to the bright heat, sparks lit at the street, and to me, I just want to text you a photo and say this looks just like that Mount Kimby video we always watched. Nothing is real and you're not here, vacuous flames just tease. How can this bring us to our knees? Why do I think to stand again with you in front of an inferno with gaze could bring ease? Answer my call, make these flames dance for me. We had a band called Plagues. Me, you and the 2 Robbies would play for days during breaks and then sit round me ma's place on MySpace. Pasta for dinner as we filled the plates. One of us got some idea, thought it'd be great to set a t-shirt ablaze inside our wooden shed and instead learned our mistakes with great haste. And I blasted the kit with the spray of a fire extinguisher till the sound of flames made way for the weight of what are we doing, fuck's sake. The place looking white as Christmas Day, but this time in mid-May. We left that kip in some state, and like some cruel twist of fate, the loved memory of stopping flames would make way for the welcome chase of the same. Later down the line on a new date, as we'd lift that couch over the motorway and into our estates. It too to see the flames we never grew out of just reshaped, fresh with a new weight. Some things from our teenage days had never changed, as we born to do something great. As we laid that couch down in the backfields and made ourselves a way. Fire, walk with me, I'd hear you say. I have a love full of flames that rage. I have a love that never turns. And I have a love that burns. I have a love, and it never fades. I have a love full of flames that rage. I have a love that never turns, and I have a love that burns.
Dutchman's not the kind of man to keep his thumb jammed in the dam that holds his dreams in. But that's a secret only Margaret knows. When Amsterdam is golden, in the morning Margaret brings him breakfast, and she believes him. He thinks the tulips bloom beneath the snow. He's mad as he can be, but Margaret only sees that sometimes she sees her unborn children in his eyes. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuiderzee. Long ago, I used to be a young man, but dear Margaret remembers that for me. The Dutchman still wears wooden shoes. His cap and coat are patched with the love that Margaret's sown in. Sometimes he thinks he's still in Rotterdam. He watches tugboats down canals and calls out to them when he thinks he knows the captain. Till Margaret comes to take him home again, through the unforgiving streets that trip him though she holds his arm. Sometimes he thinks that he's alone who calls her name. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuiderzee. Long ago, I used to be a young man, but dear Margaret remembers that for me. Windmills whirl the winter in. She winds his muffler tighter. They sit in the kitchen. Some tea with whiskey keeps away the dew. He sees her for a moment, calls her name. She makes his bed up, singing some old love song. She learned it when the tune was very new. He hums a line or two, they hum together in the night. The Dutchman falls asleep, and Margaret blows the candlelight. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuiderzee. Long ago, I used to be a young man, but dear Margaret remembers that for me.
A common song here on the Sunday Sounds of Ireland. You'll hear it on many radio stations as well. It's very popular in the Irish stage. This version is from the band called Heritage. Excuse me, the album is called Heritage. And the band, which is from Chicago, is called Celtic Thunder. We saw them at East Durham a couple years ago. And before that, we heard from a very old Irish group, one of the first Irish groups to make a name for itself beyond the shores of Ireland. And the name of Stockton's Wings album is A Beautiful Affair. And the name of the tune was The Drops of Brandy. And we started off the Sunday Sounds of Ireland this week from David Balfe. I Have a Love is the name of the album, and the name of the song, You Stayed to Live. David is from Dublin. We want to offer our congratulations from the Irish American Club to the Breffni School of Irish Dance. The reason is that we're occupying a new space in Allendale. We're renting a new facility which will better meet the needs of this growing school. I think it's about 80 kids in it at this point. But also should be noted that dance lessons will be starting up soon. Not just for the kidderns and the kiddies and the kiddos, but for us adults as well. So if you want to look at the space that Breffni is now colonizing there in the Allendale Shopping Center, or if you're interested in Irish dance lessons, either for the kiddos or because you're interested, give me a call at 413-770-7512. That's 413-770-7512. And we also have a small band which plays Irish music called Gaelica. They'll also be sited at this new venue on Dalton Avenue in Pittsfield. So if you're interested, 413-770-7512. And now we're going to be hearing from David Murphy. You must recognize the confident button accordion as well as some confident fiddle playing from Eileen Ivers and John Whalen. Two reels there that I could distinguish anyway. Trip to Sky, and the second was a Derek DeBruyn's reel. And before that, we heard from the album It's Great Altogether. I play that something from, it's a 3 CD set. So I play something from there pretty much every week. The jigs you heard were the Tull Bolton jig, the Sailor's Bonnet, as well as the Longford Collector. And before that, and first up on that, the second set at our show today here at the Sunny Sounds of Ireland, we hear from David Murphy in his album Chuimhní Glynn, Explorations of Irish Music for Pedal Steel Guitar. And what you heard was from Turlough O'Carolan, very old song, Eleanor Plunkett. And now we're going to start off this set. Let's see what it is. It's Mr. Van Morrison.
On Raglan Road, on an autumn day, I saw her first and knew that her dark hair would weave a snare that I might one day rue. I saw the danger, yet I walked along the enchanted way, and I said, let grief be your falling leaf at the dawning of the day. Listen. On Grafton Street in November, we tripped lightly along the ledge of a deep ravine where can be seen the worth of passions pledged. The Queen of Hearts still making tarts, and I not making hay. But I loved too much by such and such is happiness thrown away. All right. I give her the gifts of the mind. Oh Lord, I give her the secret sign that's known to all the artists who have known true goods of sound and time. With word and tint, I never did stare. I gave her reams of poems to say, with our own name there, and her shiny black hair like the clouds over fields of May. On a quiet street where old ghosts meet, I see her walking now. away from me so hurriedly. My reason must allow that I have wood, not as I should. A creature made of clay. When the angel woos the clay, he loose his wings at the dawn of the day. All right.
When I play on my fiddle in Dooney, folk dance like a wave of the sea. My cousin is priest in Kilvarnet, my brother in Marabwee. I pass my brother and cousin, they read in their books of prayer, but I read from my book of songs I bought at the Sligo Fair. When we come at the end of time to Peter sitting instead, he will smile on the three old spirits, but welcome me first through the gate. For the good are always the merry, save but for an evil chance, and the merry love the fiddle, and the merry love to dance. When I play on my fiddle in Dooney, folk dance like a wave of the sea. My cousin is priest in Kilvarnet, my brother in Marabwee. And when the folk there spy me, they will all come up to me, saying, here is the fiddler of Dooney, and dance like a wave of the sea.
took the field and wanted man to rally on. To be at once a sword and shield, she formed her first battalion. Although her sons were volunteers and brave as ever bore a brand, the good old lady had her fears that they proved but weak of hand. She therefore wisely cast about for men of metal and of mold, nerve of steel and muscle stout, like those that lived in days of old. She wanted men of pluck and might, a fiery heart and holy hand, to wield a pick as well as fight, or build a breastwork out to sun. Should she march to meet the foe that threatened on her western border, she wanted willing men to go and told to put her roads in order. Or should the volunteers retreat with baggage that it might make them carry, prolong the edge of their defeat, to bear a hand and help them carry. Or should some die of fatal disease, the surgeons having failed to save, sure men who work with so much ease would volunteer to live brave. For these and reasons quite sound, when old Virginia went to war, she circumspectly viewed the ground and plumbed the middleman from Tor. The figure when she stood up and took her rifle, put her finger on the trigger. She meant to work and not to trifle. And standing thus yet wanting then some regulars to rally on, she took 300 Irishmen and formed her first battalion. And when the storm of battle sweeps where fiercest foemen sally on, they're hard at work or piled in heaps, she'll find her bold battalion.
We're going to keep the music going here on the show. That was Pat Murphy. He occasionally sings with the Derek Warfield Band. And the name of that song that he sang for you was Maher's Brigade. And before that, we heard from Sean Doyle from an album produced by his son, Shawneen, The Light and the Half-Light. The name of the song, The Fiddler of Dooney. Something you've heard before if you've listened to this show. And before that, we heard from Van Morrison playing with the Chieftains in a well-known version of Raglan Road. So now we're going to hear from Sybil.
Oh, Bonnie Portmore, I am sorry to see such a woeful destruction of your ornamentree, for it stood on your shore for many's the long day, till the long boats from Antrim came to float it away. All the birds in the forest, they bitterly weep, saying, where shall we shelter, or where shall we sleep? For the oak and the ash, they are all cutting down, and the walls of Bonnie Portmore are all down to the ground. Oh, Bonnie Portmore, you shine where you stand, and the more I think on you, the more I think on. If I had you now, as I had once before, all the lords of old England would not purchase Portmore.
Constantinople, now Istanbul, Constantinople, been a long time gone. Constantinople, now search it like on a moonlit night. Istanbul, Constantinople, now Istanbul, Constantinople, so you and they. Constantinople, she waiting in Istanbul, leaving old New York was once you Amsterdam. Why they change it, I can't say. They just take all like that way. So they keep that Constantinople, now can't go that's Constantinople, been a long time gone. Constantinople, but a Constantinople, but the works. Let's go with the turn. All right, come on, let's hear it. Just liked it better that way. Take me back to Constantinople. No, can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone. Constantinople, what a Constantinople got the worst. Let's go visit with a turn. on the drums.
That was the band Scythian in one of their more lively numbers, I would think, from their volume 2 of their live CDs with Istanbul. And before that, we heard from Sybil from her Bonnie Portmore album. Great music there. And this is Kevin Cale signing off for another week. Please listen to our show again next week, and please listen to all the locally produced programming here at WTBR 89.7 FM, Pittsfield Community Radio. Gurama Agat Agshihi Shahugan.